Welcome to The Owner's Odyssey, navigating the greatest journey of your life.
Welcome back to The Owner's Odyssey, navigating the greatest journey of your life. I'm Kevin Rosenquist, here again with Jeff Redmon. Over the last 3 episodes, we've talked about the high-stakes moment of selling your business, how multiples work, and the power of strategic buyers. Today, we're looking at what happens after the deal, because selling is only half the story. This episode is all about the owner's transition playbook. Jeff, welcome back.
Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining me again.
Yeah.
The owner's transition playbook is the topic for today. Owners build their business. They focus years on building and then selling their business, but they spend very little time preparing for what comes next. And here's the truth. The deal doesn't end at the closing. You're not just selling an asset. You're stepping into a new phase of your life. The transition can be incredibly rewarding or surprisingly difficult, depending on how you prepare.
When owners first walk out of a closing meeting, what do you find are the emotions that you commonly see the most?
Well, I've not been able to predict. Some feel a sense of relief, even jubilation. Some look and feel absolutely numb. They just watched their only child graduate from college, get married, and move to Montana all in one day. And that happened with each of our children when we sent them off on their first plane ride, waiting for that final goodbye, and they never even looked back.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sudden change. I think they feel relief, excitement, fear, and emptiness all at once.
Yeah, especially if it's something that they've built, kind of the whole blood, sweat, and tears thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeff, why is the transition such a critical part of this journey?
Well, because your business isn't just financial, it's very personal. For most owners, it's their identity, their daily structure, it's their community. I've seen owners get great financial outcomes, but struggle because they haven't thought about what comes next.
Mm-hmm.
Others flourish because they had a vision for the next chapter, whether it's new ventures, family, philanthropy, or simply freedom. Preparing for transition ensures you're not just cashing out, but you're moving forward.
I imagine there's got to be a somewhat of a difference in reaction between owners who sold by choice versus those who might have felt pushed into selling, huh?
Of course, the forced sale, whether it's caused by the bank, family circumstances, that forced sale, anytime you're forced to sell, you're just not ready. Mm-hmm. And I see more of a grieving process. Lots of what ifs. If the sale is by choice, you're in control. You may not know what comes next, but it's the future you asked for.
Grieving process, I think, is a very interesting way of putting it, because it is sort of like you're losing someone almost.
It is absolutely grieving. You see all of the stages of grief when people, sell their business, and you just have to help prepare them for that.
Mm-hmm. What kind of mistakes do you see owners make during this phase?
I think too many of us are defined by what we do. Business owners are no exception. For some, our identity is lost when we sell our business. For others, it's the isolation. One of the best books on life transition is Younger Next Year by Chris Crowley and Henry Lodge. It's a rather old book, but I've given out hundreds of these. The authors argue age is inevitable, decay is a choice. And I kind of live by that standard.
Yeah, I like that.
But it's rule number 7 that says it all. Connect and commit. Isolation kills. So this truth hits especially hard for business owners after a sale, because they've lost their connection. They may have not have anything to commit to, and they really are in isolation. So finding ways to connect and commit for that business owner is absolutely critical to their health and well-being. It's the danger. Selling your business is hard. Too many owners think the journey ends at closing. Instead, they hit big pitfalls once the deal is done. For many, they have no personal vision. Owners plan the sale, but not their life after. Suddenly, they wake up with no meetings, no staff, no identity. That isolation can feel like a free fall.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you find that people sometimes just be like, "Oh, I'll figure it out later"? And if so, what usually happens?
Unfortunately, that's very common. And with that, I see more uncontrolled grieving process. Some even go into depression.
Yeah.
Studies show that too many owners, even executives, die shortly after selling or retiring because they just have lost their life's purpose.
Wow.
The second pitfall I see is underestimating wealth management. You just had a big liquidity event that requires planning. Without a strategy for taxes, investments, estate planning, you can literally lose millions.
So piggybacking off of that, what is the biggest mistake that you feel owners make in that first 12 months after liquidity?
I call it the lottery effect. They just won the lottery and they lose all sense of frugality. They forget that this money has to last the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And they just often go on spending sprees and they wake up and like, oh, how do I pay my bills? So that's the biggest mistake that I see owners making when they just have been frugal their whole life and all of a sudden they got sometimes millions in the bank. The third pitfall I see is ignoring legacy and purpose. Many owners care deeply about their people, their community, and they don't plan for how the business continues, how they'll make an impact post-sale, and regret often follows.
Mm-hmm. So using your years of experience, what kind of tips would you give owners before the sale to avoid this sense of regret?
Simply having conversations about what's next actually helps.
Yeah.
Selling your business should feel like freedom, not loss. Avoiding these pitfalls can make all the difference.
So when owners hear transition planning, many probably immediately shut down. Why do you think that is?
So many owners are so wrapped up in their business that they're scared to take time to work on themselves. They've done that for years, so even thinking about it post-closing is just a scary thing, and so they avoid it like the plague. But it's that planning that can allow the business owner to explore new things they haven't thought about in years. Just as you need a playbook for your business to bring focus on the most impactful activities, so too with your life. Don't waste your newfound freedom.
Yeah. So how does an owner start preparing the right way then?
Well, I encourage owners to build a transition playbook around 3 questions. What's next for me? How do I protect and grow my wealth? And what legacy do I want to leave? How do you avoid these pitfalls? You do not need a 50-page binder. I would suggest a personal 1-page plan, a single sheet that answers these questions. That's the transition playbook. With your personal 1-page plan, you're not selling a business, you're designing your future.
Why are you so adamant about the 1-page plan?
Well, my experience is binders get stashed away and ignored. I've gone into way too many businesses that have huge strategic plans and they have a bookshelf full of them and they're never open. They're covered with dust.
Yeah, they were made, but not actually implemented.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 page is manageable. Heck, I would settle for a Post-it on their bathroom mirror about the one thing that they want to do today to make this day impactful. You want it to be very actionable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So if an owner is listening today and isn't planning to sell in the next maybe 5 years or so, is this concept still relevant?
I believe that every owner deserves a life. I had a peer group member join a first meeting, and he's talking about his new business, and he's giving it 5 years, and then he'll spend time with his kids. And of course, the other business owners in the round table, like, I'll say, beat him up. It's like, your kids aren't even going to know who you are in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I can play baseball with my 6-year-old son, but I wouldn't have a clue what to do with my 4-year-old daughter. Well, the next meeting, he reported that he had made a cake with his daughter, and there was flour and powdered sugar all over the kitchen, and he had the best time. They deserve a life, and their business shouldn't interfere with that. So with that end in mind, knowing where you're going will help make your business stronger today, even if you don't plan to sell anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. That's a cool story. I like that. Yeah, it's funny that he got beat up by the other ones in there.
Oh, they're ruthless.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he needed that.
he thanked me. He's like, I needed that more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff, what's one practical step our listeners can take this week to start building this transition playbook?
Well, this week, write down your personal one-page plan. Keep it simple. That's your transition playbook. One page that puts you in charge of what's next in your life. This isn't homework. It's a roadmap for your future. Do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a great way to close out our kickoff series. Do you have any final words for us?
Don't let your biggest deal turn into your biggest regret. With a one-page plan, you can assure that your biggest deal is also the beginning of your next chapter.
Well said. I like that. Well, thanks, Jeff. And thank you to our listeners out there. Be sure to subscribe to the Owner's Odyssey. In our next season, we'll expand the conversation beyond selling to other defining challenges business owners face. And don't forget, you can download Jeff's free personal one-page plan template at www.redmonlaw.com. So head there, start designing your future. And until next time, Jeff, great chatting with you again. Thanks so much for being here with me.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.